Welcome to our central point. Today we have with us Mr. Schwartz. He is a restorative practice person here at Central Middle School. Our topic today is bullying. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So let's go right to the point. What is bullying?
Bullying is a repeated aggressive behavior intended to harm, intimidate, or to control another person. It often involves an imbalance of power. One person might be older, might be a group of people. And it's also important to recognize that bullying and conflict are not the same thing. Bullying is ongoing, day in, day out, multiple times. Where if two students are not getting along one day, that wouldn't be bullying, that would just be conflict based on a specific issue.
Thank you. How can you tell if someone is being bullied or is bullying someone else?
Honestly, that's quite simple. Talk to them. Ask open-ended questions that are not a yes or a no question. Sometimes, but not always, people who are being bullied will show some emotional changes, sometimes some physical signs, such as unexplained injuries, torn clothing, lost belongings. Sometimes avoidance behavior where they don't want to go to school, they don't want to go to a club, they don't want to play on the soccer team anymore. Sometimes there's a decline in performance, dropping grades, dropping other things. Sometimes there's a change in social life, all new friends. Sometimes eating or sleeping habits, and occasionally self-harm, people hurting themselves. These things don't always happen. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And they don't always mean bullying. So I always come back to, if you're concerned about anything, ask those questions. How's school today? What happened today? Is everything going okay? Open-ended questions that require people to say more than just yes or no.
Okay, thank you. How do you report bullying?
Reporting bullying is pretty easy. You can call the school and say, I need to speak to somebody about bullying. You can call or dojo your student's teacher. You can call and say, I really need to speak to a school counselor, a social worker, an assistant principal about bullying issues. Sometimes they do need to give you a call back. And then you can also make an anonymous tip about anything that's concerning you. Obviously, because it's an anonymous tip and it goes directly to the district and it goes directly to the building, you would want to make sure it's significant stuff, but bullying is very important. You can make that anonymous tip on Safe to Say tip line, which you can access that from the Reading School District website. If you go to families, then Safe to Say, it'll explain everything, and then that obviously can be translated into Spanish if you would prefer.
Thank you. How do you deal with bullying?
When we get a report that there is some bullying, a lot of the time it is not actually bullying, but that doesn't matter. It gets handled the same way every time. We take those reports very seriously. We speak to the students, usually both students, to figure out what's going on, what happened, and try to find a solution. We also try to identify any possible physical or emotional harm that could be created, that could happen. And then we make a safety plan to try to alleviate that, prevent that, make sure that that doesn't continue to go on. And lastly, we then notify the parents. We always try to reach out to the parents, which is one of the reasons why it's kind of important that we have updated addresses, updated phone numbers, so we can give you a call and let you know what we're finding at school, and then work together.
Great, thank you. What if it happens again?
Obviously, we hope this never happens, but occasionally it does. And if it happens again, or if the same bullying just continues, it's again taken very, very seriously. And we investigate any deeper actions which we can take. We investigate what the issue is, make sure the students are separated. Some of these may require much more serious disciplinary actions, maybe permanently separating the students, maybe a more complex safety plan, maybe on occasion, this rarely happens, but on occasion, we may even look into moving a student to another school where they're going to feel more comfortable and more self-assured.
Great, thank you. As a parent, how do I check to see if my child is being bullied?
Look for some of the signs. Try to figure out what's going on. And then ask those open-ended questions. Ask questions such as, what's been going on at school? What happened? When they tell you about something that's going on, ask them, how does that make you feel? Or what's kind of going through your head when that stuff happens? Ask them, what is the worst part for you? What's been the most difficult? What can we do to make it better? It shows your son or daughter that you care, that you are working with them to try to solve this. And they're also non-accusatory, because a lot of people who are victims of bullying, it may sound silly, but sometimes believe it's their fault. And if they believe that it's their fault, there may be some shame, they may be uncomfortable talking about it. So if you ask the questions in open-ended, non-accusatory ways, your students are much more likely to tell you what's going on. And they're obviously it's probably more likely they're going to tell you than they're going to tell me.
Also, I think you already answered part of this question, but as a parent, how do I know for sure that it was handled?
You're going to hear from us. And we want to keep hearing from you. Hopefully, if you are the one who reports it, hopefully we actually get to talk face to face and we talk about everything, we get all the information. Then simply call Dojo if you want updates. We will give you updates as things are happening. Occasionally, the intervention that we're trying to run, what we're trying to do, gets delayed. It takes time. If we want to sit down and talk to both students, but one student's absent for 3 days, you may not hear from us for 3 days. We also may reach out to you and say, hey, I know this is very important. Such and such student hasn't been in school for 3 days. So we need to wait.
And that goes with this next question. Like, if my child is being bullied by more than one student, then what? How is it handled?
It's handled situation by situation. The most important thing is your child is safe physically, safe emotionally, socially, and feels comfortable. If we need to sit down with your student, your son or daughter, and the 5 other students, we'll do that. If we need to sit down with your student and 1 other, we'll do that. If it's not appropriate to sit down with your son and daughter and anybody from the other side because people are afraid or people are scared, obviously we're not going to force anyone to do that. But we're going to try one thing after another and do everything that we can to make sure that this is stopped. You also have the option, if there's physical bullying or anything like that, especially if it's happening on the way home from school, on the way to school, you have the option of reporting it to the police as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.